Confident Parenting. I'm back tonight to continue our live Q&A session, Ask Us Anything session for expecting parents, new parents, and veteran parents. And tonight, I'm very excited to introduce to you guest. Her name is Bo Zhao. She's the owner of the Baby Gear Group. She'll be joining us in just a moment. So welcome, Bo. As I was mentioning, you're the owner of Baby Gear Group, which you're here to tell us all about. I think our audience, if they aren't aware of your service already, is going to be very excited to learn about it. So I'm happy to share it with them tonight. And I will let you explain, actually, since you're here already. Tell us what Baby Group Gear is and how it started. And then I have a whole bunch of questions to ask about it.
Yeah, let me just check. Is it better?
That's much better.
Is this?
Yep.
Okay. I had it in a stand, and maybe the stand was affecting the microphone. Okay, I'll just hold the phone. Yeah, so Baby Gear Group is a service that I started based on my own needs, really. When I was pregnant with my first, I had a really hard time figuring out what baby gear I really needed. You know, we lived in a small space in the city. Of course, we wanted to save money. We didn't have a ton of space. And there was just so much information out there, so much conflicting advice. You just spend so many hours reading tons and tons of reviews, and everything conflicted, right? Like all the advice conflicted. And so it was just it was a frustrating process, right? And then, of course, after the baby arrived, a lot of the gear that we did purchase that I thought we were going to use didn't end up using for whatever reason. Babies are very opinionated. If they don't want to be in a swing, they will not give you any peace sitting in that swing. And so I reached this point where I just realized I wish there was a service that would allow me to try things and to use the things for as long as I needed them, because in that first year, you're only using these things for a couple of months and then they outgrow them, right?
And then you have to find a place to store it.
Yes. And then at the end, it would just magically disappear, right? Like I wouldn't have to worry about trying to sell it or trying to get rid of it or whatever, right? Because that, you know, you're now with a newborn and you just don't have the time and energy to do more research about what other products that you're going to need. And you don't have the time and energy to deal with getting rid of stuff. Yeah. And so it just based off of what I wish had existed at the time, just something where I could just go and get whatever I needed. It would be delivered to me. It would get picked up. Just something very
well. And that's every mompreneur story, right? Like I saw a need for something I wished I had that didn't exist, so I did it myself, which I love. My story is a little similar. And I should mention that you're a local mom, and by local I mean Philadelphia. So that's very cool. We love our local businesses. Okay, so yeah, to sum it up, you call Baby Gear Group a library style service for all your baby gear needs for the first year, which is very, very cool. So tell us more about the service. How do people actually use it?
Yeah. Okay. So it's like it functions very similar to a library, or if you have used Rent the Runway, it's kind of like that. So, in the very simplest case, a new parent can say, I've heard a lot of these things about the slumber pod, is how it's just the great thing. Let me just try it. I have a trip coming up. I'd like to try it. And I just want to rent this one thing. So you can do that. The other way that I've designed the service is a membership. So this is more for someone who is looking ahead and thinking, you know what, I'm going to want a couple of things, and I know that I'm going to need more things as the baby grows. So I say first year and beyond, because we do have items that would be relevant for years 2 and 3, like toys, and like Pickler Triangles and things like that become more interesting to toddlers as they grow. And so with a membership, they pay a flat monthly fee, and they can check out a number of items up to a certain limit. and they can just basically swap items in and out as they need, just like a library.
Awesome. That's so awesome. And I think you mentioned when we chatted, swapping out means that you're coming to make the swap to their home.
Yes. So for membership plans, delivery is included. So
Definitely wanted to highlight that. saves you a trip, which is great. So what are your most popular items? What are families getting out of your service?
yeah, so I mentioned earlier, slumber pods are really popular. Pickler Triangles. I mean, travel strollers. I mean, a lot of stuff. Jumpers, swings.
And you even have things like baby wraps, baby slings, baby carriers. I think you told me all that. That's one item where I feel like everyone tries like every single option before they find the one that they and their baby like, and they feel comfortable getting on and getting off and getting them in and getting them out. So that's really invaluable. And you and I have spoken about swaddles and swaddle products, which is also on that list of like, you don't know what your baby's going to like until you try them all. And then there'll be one that they really, really love. And you just use it for such a short time that this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Carriers, swaddles. What else? Yeah, a lot of times baby seats, whether it's a swing or a bouncer. Sometimes babies are really opinionated, and you never know. When it comes to personally, my baby always hated swaddles, so none of them worked for us.
You did not find the one.
We ended up going directly to sleep sacks, but we did try, I think, 5 carriers before finding out what worked for us.
Got it. Which brings up a good question. What are those categories of baby items where it's just really hard to know what your baby's going to like? I guess swaddles would obviously be one of them.
I mean, every mom goes through that experience, like middle of the night, Googling on her phone, what is the magical thing that's going to help my baby sleep? So those things are difficult to shop for. You just don't know what's going to work. For personally, our baby really liked having her hands up, and they do have hands up swaddles. But I think at that point we were just so
you're done.
Our brains were so scrambled and fried that we were like,
right. I personally think motion is hard to plan for because some of us have babies that prefer more of a side to side, and some like to go forward and back, and some kind of like that sort of bouncy motion. So you might think something's really lovely and your baby's like, not the right motion. I don't like it, or it's not vigorous enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I have a member right now who wanted a certain simple swing because we weren't sure what type of motion her baby would be into. And then basically a week later, she was like, you know what, this isn't right. Do you have one that vibrates instead? And that's what we're going to try next. And that's exactly what service is for, is to help you go through these things without then you having to go to Amazon and read the reviews, like, oh, which one vibrates, which one bounces, blah, 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 right?
Right. Well, and that's awesome. So I'm sure you did or have done a ton of research before and as you started this business. Do you have a sense of like what new parents tend to spend on baby gear versus like the difference that it would be with the membership?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was doing this research, actually the numbers are pretty astounding. So all first year spend is about $12,000. So that's a huge number, but that includes everything: diapers, food, etc. Right? Like that's a lot of money. But surprisingly, half of that, $6,000, is on durable baby gear. So that's a lot of money. And I did the totaling of my own purchases, and I think I came out to around $5,000. So I was like, okay, I can definitely see it's very realistic, and of course,
right,
try to save money where they can, right? And so the whole idea behind the service is I wanted people to be able to save that money, right? And so the membership plans are priced below that, of course, so that you can get all your needs met below that. And I do also offer a no overpaying guarantee because I'm all about trying to make the service as easy and as sort of useful for new moms as possible, right? So if you pay for the service and for whatever reason you don't utilize the service as much as you thought you were going to, you don't get enough items, at the end of your membership, I total up everything that you, the value of everything that you borrowed. And if your membership fees exceed 50% of the retail value of those items, you get that excess refunded. So it's always going to be like you used everything that you wanted to use for as long as you needed it, but you spent less than half.
Right. Awesome. Well, you've definitely done your homework. I think that's really, really, really cool. So we talked about popular items that you carry. Anything else on that list, brands or products you want to list, and anything you don't carry, families can't get through the service?
Yeah, so play arts are really popular too. So something like the Guava Family Lotus, or some pack and play even. These are things, again, that you just don't use for that long because the babies outgrow them. And did I mention Pickler Triangles? That's like another big one.
And I'm like ashamed to say I don't even know what that is, but my son is 11, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, Pickler Triangles. It's sort of in the same boat as the Nugget couch, where we also do have, and it's a toddler gross motor apparatus, I guess.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so
it's not sleep related. That's why I didn't know it was. Like, what is this thing I've never heard of?
Yeah, so the Pickler Triangle is something that they can climb. Find gross motor skills. They can climb.
It's an awesome thing to be able to rent.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's huge. It's at least $300, and baby toys, it's unpredictable, right? They might like it, they might not. They might like it for a month and then they're done with it. And you just don't want to be stuck with this giant thing in your home that you're not going to use. So those are quite popular with members. And just to go back to your earlier question of what I don't carry any safety items because it's hard for me to guarantee the history of them. So I don't have car seats. I don't have baby gates because that's very home specific. And when it comes to that sort of thing, I just, you probably want to trust a professional to figure out what type of baby gate you need for your stair situation. And like,
high chairs?
Sorry, go ahead.
High chairs?
I do have high chairs. Yep. Yeah. Everyone tried the Stokey Trip Trap.
Yeah. Very popular. And it sounds like a lot of space saving items too, which is good for families that are in tight spaces or just don't want stuff taking up their whole space. So that's good. Okay, so I know anybody that watches this is going to be wondering, like, this is all awesome, but how do these items get cleaned in between? How can I know that, it's going to be okay, especially in this, day and age with everything we have going on? So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I guess just to go back when I was first thinking of the service, I was, that was a big thought in my mind. Like, are people okay with used items? And they are, right? I mean, people get stuff, hand-me-downs from family members, consignment sales, buy nothing. Certainly I did, right? And the nice thing about baby gear, especially the higher end items, is that they're designed very well. They're designed to be durable and they're designed to be easy to clean, right? The fabrics all detach, you just throw in the washing machine, etc. And so cleaning is actually quite straightforward. So a lot of times, again, fabrics detached, they can be washed in the washing machine. Items that are fixed can be sanitized through bleach-like solutions. I use something called Force of Nature, which is it's kind of like a bleach solution, but it kills coronavirus along with a bunch of other things. And it's used commonly for food prep surfaces. So it is considered to be baby friendly. And anything else that's not going in a baby's mouth can be wiped down with Clorox wipes, or steamed or anything like that to kind of kill off whatever nasties might be on it.
Awesome. Very, very good. So I think we kind of touched on this already, but what, if you had to sum up, what's the benefit to families to doing it this way versus the way that you had to do it with your little one? Obviously the cost, the way you broke that down, is a big factor, but I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah, probably for me personally, there are three main benefits. The first is the cost that you mentioned, trying to save money. The second is just the mental load, right? Like new parents, especially new moms, have a bazillion things on their mind, and we want the best for our babies, and we do so much research and we beat ourselves up so much trying to debate, like, is that $200 Baby Bjorn bouncer really better than the $20 Fisher Price one? And we'll agonize over that decision, like, because like we could spend the $200, but we agonize over these things. And so instead of doing that, just skip that mental debate and just get it. You have the membership, you're paying a flat fee, just get it, just try it, right? And if it's not the right thing, get something else. So saving that mental load, I think, is huge. And then the third thing is sustainability. So when you're buying this stuff, it just doesn't feel great. Some people are really sort of sustainability conscious, and they try really hard to get secondhand things and to put things back into the community. And this is when I explain this type of service, the people who are sort of coming from that kind of background are like, yes, like this is perfect, right? Because it's putting items out there back into the community to the next person who needs it. But even if you don't quite come from that background, like you do feel the ickiness, right? It's so wasteful. Like you're buying these things new, there's just unnecessary manufacturing, and then at the end you're just like desperate to get rid of it, and maybe you're just like passing it off to somebody. You're like, oh, here's this huge bag of baby, and like maybe it's useful for them, or maybe not, and it's going to end up unutilized in a landfill. And wouldn't it be better if it was going to a person who was definitely going to use it?
I love that. Those are awesome benefits. Do you want to share what the membership pricing looks like? Would you rather families come find that on your website?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to share it here. So the simplest plan I call the mini, and that's $49 a month, and that includes 5 items, including 1 premium item. And a premium item is just simply an item that tends to be of higher retail value. And then beyond that is the basic plan, and that is $99 a month, and that includes 10 items. And the more plan is 15 items, and it also includes, and each of the plans include more premium items as you go up. And the more plan also includes premium plus items. And premium plus are like the really high-end stuff, like the SNOO and the Up a Baby Vista strollers, basically things that retail for close to $1,000.
I think that's so incredibly reasonable for pricing, which is why I wanted you to mention it, because people are probably like, oh yeah, what does this cost? It's just amazing. And I think this whole thing is brilliant. And I'm not just saying that because you're my guest here, but I do. Funny, relatable story. So like I mentioned, my son's 11. So it's been a really long time since we went through this. But anybody that knows me, I'm like kind of a perfectionist. I don't like clutter. I don't, especially visual clutter. We were in a very tiny apartment at the time. And I just, as soon as the first item of gear came into the house before he was born, which was your standard swing, I started crying. Also, anyone who knows me, I cry a lot. I cry over everything. And at that time, it was even 10 times worse. So I was like, I don't want this swing, and I don't want this to take up all this room. I was probably having like a crisis over the fact that my whole life was about to change, right? And then, of course, as he arrived, he didn't like that. So we started trying other things, and every little inch started getting taken off by baby gear, and he didn't want any of them. We'd gotten whatever was popular at the time. It was a seat that went like this. And he was like, you gotta be kidding me. We're like, well, if he doesn't like this, let's try this. But it barely moved. And this kid, he needed like motion. Like, I'm not even kidding you. He needs motion at the top level. So at the height of my like second or third round of crying, here comes my mother-in-law at the time with like a rickety old manual bouncy seat that had been passed down. I don't know. And I just lost it. I was like, I don't want one more thing. We don't have any room for this. And lo and behold, I will be forever grateful to her. We discovered that it provided the right type of motion. And because we were doing it, we could make it vigorous and constant enough. And it was like a magic trick for him. But it took so much trial and error to get there. And you're right, so much stress and money and tears and clutter. And then we had to do something with the stuff that he didn't like. And I just like, wow, I totally relate to the like, I wish that something like that had existed, because it would have been much, much simpler. Not to mention the, the swaddles and the baby carriers we went through. So I think what you're doing is awesome and very needed, and I'm really happy to help spread the word. Anything else we did not touch on that you want parents to know? Let them know where to find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So probably the best way to reach out to me is through email, which is info@babygeargroup.com. That information is all on the website as well, which is babygeargroup.com.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you were able to make the time. I know it's hard for families to watch live because they're probably doing bedtime or they're crashing after doing bedtime, but I'm sure many, I can hear yours going on in the background. I'm sure many will watch on replay, and hopefully they will reach out for all their baby gear needs. And thank you so much for coming on to tell us all about it, and I wish you the best with it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Have a good rest of your night. Bye, everybody.